The greatest tragedy of House of the Dragon is not that evil people fought for power. It is that power itself transformed ordinary people into monsters. Most viewers see the Dance of the Dragons as a story of betrayal, ambition, and personal revenge. A family destroying itself because its leaders were too selfish to choose peace. But that interpretation misses the deeper horror. The fall of House Targaryen was not simply a failure of morality. It was the inevitable result of a system built on absolute power. When one person controls the throne, everyone around them is forced into the same brutal game. Manipulate, deceive, and destroy before they become the next victim. To understand why the Targaryens destroyed themselves, we must look beyond dragons and bloodlines. We must examine House of the Dragon through the political realism of Thomas Hobbes and Niccolò Machiavelli. Because when absolute authority collapses, morality becomes a luxury, and survival becomes the only law left. This is the philosophy of power. For thousands of years, humanity has been obsessed with one question. What happens when someone gains the ability to control the fate of others? Does power reveal the true nature of a person? Or does power slowly reshape them into something they never wanted to become? House of the Dragon is one of the most fascinating explorations of this question because its tragedy does not begin with hatred. It begins with people who believe they are doing what is necessary. That is what makes the Dance of the Dragons so terrifying. The war is not created by simple villains. It is created by individuals who convince themselves that their actions are justified. Every character believes they are protecting something. Rhaenyra believes she is protecting her birthright. Alicent believes she is protecting her children. Daemon believes he is protecting the strength of his house. The Hightowers believe they are preventing chaos. The Targaryens believe they are preserving their legacy. And yet, every attempt to protect what they love brings them closer to destroying it. This is the paradox of power. For thousands of years, humanity has been obsessed with one question. What happens when someone gains the ability to control the fate of others? Does power reveal the true nature of a person? Or does power slowly reshape them into something? The desire to secure control often creates the very instability that destroys everything. Long before the dragons burned the skies of Westeros, the philosopher Thomas Hobbes explored this exact problem. In his famous work Leviathan, Hobbes argued that human beings naturally live in a condition of uncertainty and fear when there is no higher authority capable of maintaining order. Without a powerful force above everyone else, people cannot fully trust each other. Every individual must constantly consider the possibility that others may betray them. And when survival is threatened, even peaceful people become capable of extreme actions. Hobbes described this condition as a conflict where everyone is forced to protect themselves against everyone else, not because every person is evil, but because fear changes human behavior. This is the true beginning of the Targaryen civil war. The Dance of the Dragons does not begin because everyone suddenly becomes cruel. It begins because the political system creates a world where trust becomes dangerous. When King Viserys I chooses Rhaenyra as his heir, he believes he is creating stability. He believes that tradition can be changed through reason. He believes that personal relationships and loyalty can overcome political reality. But Viserys misunderstands the nature of power. The Iron Throne is not simply a symbol of leadership. It represents survival. The person who sits on that throne controls the armies, the laws, and the future of every noble house in Westeros. A mistake in succession is not merely a family disagreement. it is a threat to the entire political order. Viserys tries to solve a structural problem with personal goodwill. But political systems cannot survive only on the intentions of individuals. They require rules, institutions, and consequences. And when those foundations are weak, ambition fills the space. The tragedy of Viserys is that he is not a monster. He is a man who believes kindness can defeat reality, but reality does not negotiate. When Viserys dies, the question is no longer who deserves the throne. The question becomes who has the power to take it. And this is where Hobbes becomes essential. Because when authority becomes uncertain, everyone begins preparing for the worst. Rhaenyra fears that surrendering her claim will mean death for herself and her children. The Greens fear that allowing Rhaenyra to rule will mean their own destruction. Both sides begin acting defensively, and yet those defensive actions become acts of aggression. This is the tragedy of political fear. People create enemies because they expect enemies to exist. They build weapons because they fear attack. They attack because the other side is building weapons. The cycle continues until peace becomes almost impossible. House of the Dragon presents a world where everyone believes they are reacting to danger. But every reaction creates a greater danger. This is exactly the kind of political reality that Niccolò Machiavelli studied. Unlike traditional philosophers who imagined rulers as morally perfect figures, Machiavelli examined power as it actually existed. He understood that rulers cannot survive based only on virtue. They must understand human nature. They must understand fear, loyalty, reputation, and the constant struggle for influence. Machiavelli's most uncomfortable lesson is that politics is not always controlled by what is right. It is controlled by what works. And this is where the characters of House of the Dragon become tragic. Rhaenyra is the rightful heir. But legitimacy alone does not guarantee victory. A crown is not protected by justice. It is protected by power. She learns that being the rightful ruler means little if she cannot convince others to accept her authority. Alicent experiences a similar transformation. At first, she is not driven by simple ambition. She's driven by fear. She believes that if Rhaenyra takes the throne, her children will never be safe. Her actions become increasingly ruthless, but from her perspective, they are acts of protection. She's not trying to become a villain. She's trying to survive inside a system that rewards suspicion. And that is the genius of the story. The characters do not fall because they are uniquely evil. They fall because they exist inside a world that encourages their worst instincts. Daemon Targaryen represents another side of this philosophy. Unlike Viserys, Daemon understands that power requires strength. He knows that weakness invites challenges. He understands the language of fear. But the problem with living through intimidation is that eventually fear becomes the only language you know. Daemon gains influence, but he sacrifices peace. He gains respect, but loses the ability to live without conflict. He becomes a perfect example of Machiavelli's warning. A ruler may gain power through fear, but fear can never create genuine loyalty. This is why the dragons themselves are such an important symbol. At first glance, the dragons appear to be the true source of destruction. They are weapons capable of changing the balance of power instantly. But the dragons are not the real monster. They only amplify what already exists inside humanity. The real danger was never the fire. The real danger was the belief that unlimited power could be controlled by imperfect people. The dragons did not create the war. They simply gave human ambition the ability to become catastrophic. And this is the ultimate lesson of House of the Dragon. Power does not corrupt because people suddenly become evil when they gain authority. Power corrupts Because absolute power removes the limits that normally restrain human behavior. When there are no consequences, when there is no authority above the ruler, when survival depends on controlling others, morality becomes fragile. Even good people begin making terrible choices. Even those who seek peace begin preparing for war. Even those who want to protect their family end up destroying it. The tragedy of House Targaryen is not that they lacked greatness. They had everything. They had dragons. They had wealth. They had history. They had the ability to shape the future. But they built a world where greatness was measured by domination, and a system based on domination will eventually consume everyone inside it. Thomas Hobbes warned that without order, humanity falls into conflict. Machiavelli warned that power requires understanding the darker sides of human nature. House of the Dragon combines both ideas into one devastating conclusion. The greatest threat to a kingdom is not always an enemy outside its walls. Sometimes it is the struggle for control happening inside them, because in the Game of Thrones, the people fighting for the crown are often the same people who destroy it. And that is the true philosophy of power.